Physical touch is an important form of nonverbal communication, which allows us to learn about our culture. Indeed, the culture that we grew up in teaches us what type of touch and when is touch appropriate. In this chapter, we will describe the functions of interpersonal touch across relationships, compare different influences of gender on touch, and explain how early experiences with touch influence later relationships.
Touch happens to be the earliest message that was received by us as humans. Within the first few moments of life, most of us are birthed, swaddled, and cuddled close to our parents. We will soon discover how touch influences our early developmental experience, which in turn has an impact on our lifelong attitudes toward touch.
We learn at an early age that things are real when we can touch them. Kids often reach forward to see if they can touch or grab their nearest items, in an attempt to learn whether they are actually in front of their eyes. Thus, we learn about reality through touch. Touch also helps us process information about the world around us. From the very beginning, we use touch to explore our environments. Across a variety of relationships, touch helps us bond and escalate relationships. Touch strongly influences other people's behaviors. When they engage in touch, people connect with one another. A lack of touch indicates emotional detachment because touch is a significant social force. Even among strangers, a positive casual touch can increase personal evaluations. However, the location of the casual touch on the body is very important. The social bond with the toucher and the type of relationship determine the desirable or undesirable locations. The closeness and nature of the relationships, and the types of touch that are considered socially acceptable, are to be monitored. Interpersonal touch can both help, and hurt, the development of relationships. As we receive positive forms of touch, people can have a positive role in our life. As adults, our experience with affection and touch influence positive experiences. Early forms of touch are directly related to the cognitive development of young humans. Harry Harlow wanted to know whether the tactile experience of relationships was related to other instrumental functions of touch than its social functions. And so he gave infant monkeys the opportunity to spend time with one of two surrogate mothers. The quote-unquote mothers could provide warmth, food, and a pleasant soft fuzzy body to cling to. According to the findings of the experiment, the monkeys would get food from the wire mother through a nursing bottle, but then return and spend time with the soft mother. The infant typically went to the mother that provided the softest sense of touch when it needed comforting or a sense of security. The findings of this study were contradictory to the fact that affection and love were just a natural response to receiving food from a maternal figure. The Harlow monkey experiment convinced nonverbal researchers that the natural drive to touch and be touched also extended beyond humans. To explain what drove people to engage in touch and why, a new perspective emerged on the usefulness of affectionate social touch.
We want to classify touch because a picture of the different components of touch can help us to better understand how touch works in different relationships. For instance, the structural understanding of touch focuses on the different types of touch. In contrast, the functional understanding of touch focuses on each individual function that might be accomplished by using that specific type of touch. The structural approach to touch focuses on specific acts that are physically distinct from one another. The categories exist regardless of the intent of the toucher and of the perceptions of the person being touched. For example, a pinch is categorized separately, as it looks very different from other types of touch.
For the functional approach to touch, it looks at the social outcome that emerges from that touch. However, it does not look at each specific touch behavior as the individual instance of touch accomplished in a particular context is to be answered. There are 6 functions of touch, each associated with a relational outcome accomplished by engaging in touch. First is the ritualistic touch. Ritualistic touch occurs when people touch one another as part of a routine behavior or social script. It is related to one's arrival or departure. Second is the positive effect touch. This function of touch occurs when people express positive emotions for a partner through touch, including affection, support/nurturance, inclusion/togetherness, appreciation, or sexual interest. Third is control touch. Control touch occurs whenever touch is used to direct or influence the attitudes, emotions, attention, or behaviors of another individual. Fourth is playful touch. This happens when people use touch to bring some fun or inject some humor into a situation. It can also occur when people are trying to indicate sarcasm. Fifth is task-related touch. This function of touch occurs when people use touch necessarily as part of accomplishing some other instrumental tasks. For example, going to the dentist, having a pedicure, figuring out your shoe size, or getting your ears pierced, etc. It is not possible to accomplish each task without someone else's physical assistance. Sixth is hybrid touch. It combines multiple forms of touch discussed so far into one single interaction. The most commonly experienced combination is the mixture of ritualistic and positive effect touches. People use touch within a culture and around the world in different ways. There are cultural differences in the use of touch, and also regional differences within larger social cultures. Women tend to avoid the touch of the opposite sex than men. Women are most likely to give and receive touch overall. One's displayed gender affects the places on the body that are acceptable as locations for touch. One's relationship and gender identity determine the understanding of who may touch them where. Therefore, cultural rules and norms highlight sex differences in the use of touch. Age has an influence on touch. Older people receive less touch. They use touch in different patterns. They also mentally process touch differently than younger people, even though they desire touch. More healthy affectionate touch with those older people is needed to be initiated. Next, the nature of the relationship one has with the person being touched should be made certain of. That is because unwanted touch is uncomfortable and unacceptable. People need to make sure that their interaction partner is comfortable with being touched. Let us now consider several theories related to touch. The first theory is the affection exchange theory. Individuals have developed affectionate behaviors over the course of human history as a way of demonstrating that he or she would be a good parent, activating the partner's biological drive to procreate and produce children. This theory helps to explain motivations toward affection. Affection need not always be for the purposes of procreation, but for a variety of characteristics. Next, the biological components of affection and the impact on human health have been researched. Individuals respond positively to affectionate touch in specific and measurable ways. That leads us to the second theory to understand how early touch influences adult identities. The second theory that we will consider is the attachment theory. According to this theory, the basic patterns of interactions established during our infant years impact our future interaction expectations in our adult relationships. In other words, our early haptic experiences with touch significantly influence our lifelong understanding of self, how we fit into social structures, and our adult identities.
Attachment theory is also one of the most studied theories in the communication discipline, because our early experiences with touch and attention as an infant might influence our later understanding of who we are and how we relate to others around us. As an infant, during our earliest experiences with touch, we receive early signals about our own self-worth and the ability of others to help us. For example, a hungry, crying infant is instantly fed and held. That develops a sense of self-worth and trust in others, therefore the infant behaves securely in adult relationships. In contrast, a child who does not receive the necessary care and attention may approach adult relationships with hesitation or dismissiveness. There are four main categories of adult attachment. First, secure attachments are characterized by confidence in oneself and one's attachment partner. I'm okay and you're okay. Second, dismissive attachments are characterized by confidence in oneself but a belief that one's attachment partner may not be able to meet one's needs. I'm okay but you're not okay. Third, preoccupied attachments are characterized by a lack of self-worth but confidence in one's relational partner. I'm not okay but you're okay. Fourth, fearful avoidant attachments are characterized by both a lack of self-worth and a lack of confidence in one's relational partner. I'm not okay and you're not okay. These four attachment styles are just natural defaults toward a relationship. Regardless of one's attachment style, it is possible to have a completely fulfilling long-term romantic partnership. That is because relationships are influenced by much more than touch, even though touch is important throughout one's developmental experiences. Far beyond the early influences of infant touch, life experiences and relationship histories may influence one's current behavior. In summary, we learned that the human touch is influenced by our culture, sex and gender identity, and age. Our early experience with touch also has an influence on how we form relationships. Thus, we must treat touch with care and respect others as we use this powerful communication form.